Teammate, no way you let him kill you, bro. Teammate.
Good kill. Marking the
How's it going, Goomy Gang? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing awesome. Now, with the most recent addition in the aftermarket parts, we got something called the JAK Slash, which a lot of you guys are probably writing off because it's like a knife, like a switchblade type of underbarrel, and you might be thinking, what's the big deal? Well, honestly, it's pretty unique because it's one of the only underbarrel grips, in fact, it's the only one that I know of, that can actually boost your sprint, tactical sprint speed, and your movement speed, as well as your recoil. But why that's so cool for shotguns in particular is because now we have another addition to add on some of our builds that gives us more sprint speed, which is always a good thing, especially for those builds that you want to be quick and moving around as much as you can, which typically goes hand in hand with most shotguns. So with today's video, I'm here to convince you to go unlock this thing because it is a ton of fun and it is so good on some of these shotguns. And honestly, after replaying some of these builds that I made with speed in mind and using this thing alongside of those builds, I'm in love. Some of these builds are so much fun, and I have two builds I'm going to show you guys that you need to check out if you love playing with really fast builds. So getting into more about the specifics of the attachment, if you look at it, just for example, on the base Lockwood 680, you can see we get about a 4% increase to our movement speed and sprint speed, and about a 1% to our tactical sprint speed, which is pretty cool. And we do also get about 8% to our recoil reduction. Doesn't really matter for most shotguns. I could see this being usable, of course, on things like the Riveter, maybe the Haymaker in certain builds. But yeah, that is nice to see we do get recoil reduction. But again, our main focus here is that pro to our movement and tactical sprint speed. Now, before I get into the actual builds and all that stuff, I do want to point out the other obvious thing about this attachment is that it doubles as a knife that you can use. So if you have this equipped on a gun and you try to melee with that gun equipped, it basically functions as a small knife. So it's like when you could use a throwing knife as another backup knife. It's the same thing with this. And so basically it gives you like a 2-shot melee potential, I believe. Now this is cool because theoretically you could run up to someone, blast them with a shotgun, and then just knife them really quick, but it's not really super practical for me because the way I play, I didn't find it particularly useful, and I found myself like trying to go for those knife kills and would end up just dying because I have to run so close and there's that big gap. So I could see it being really effective on slow shooting pump actions, and then you just get one shot and then knife really quick. I could see that being kind of cool, but generally if I'm using a pump action, I don't do that anyway, and I just jump around a lot and try not to knife them. But hey, it is something cool. If you want to try something different, you can use that. And of course, this is basically like one of the breacher devices you can use on the end of your shotgun in the muzzle category as well. So there's another option for that. But personally, I just find it's the most useful used as something to kind of complement your movement speed. And the really neat thing is that this thing is available on all the shotguns. It's not often we get an aftermarket part that you can actually use on pretty much every shotgun. Occasionally you get some that work on a few, but this one is on all of them. You can use it on the quirky ones like the MX Guardian. You can use it on the Lockwood 680. The Reclaimer, everything. You can just basically stick it on and bam, you get more movement speed. So it's actually a practical attachment to use on a lot of shotguns, and I really think that you guys should try and unlock it if you can, because it actually does add a unique element to these builds that you could make. Now, taking a look at two builds I want to show you guys. Of course, I want to mention the Speed Demon Bryson 890 build. This is an awesome shotgun for movement. It's not the best when it comes to its 2-shot potential. In fact, it's typically a 2 to 3 shot, and more often than not, it's going to be a 3-shot at most ranges. But this thing is known for its mobility and handling, and man, when you put on that JAK Slash with this particular build, you can go flying and it feels so good. It was such a blast to go back to this build, haven't used it in a while, and putting this thing on it, you could tell you were flying and it feels so good. Again, it's not the most competitive shotgun out there, it's just something for fun, and it's not even the most competitive pump action. I think the Bryson 890 is solid, but as you'll see shortly, the Reclaimer is just kind of the king of the jungle at this point. But this, do not make any mistake, it's still a super fun build, and fun is what it's all about. So I highly encourage you guys to go try this one out. It is super fun. As I did mention before, we are going to talk about the Reclaimer. It's hard not to because this thing is just an insanely good pump action, and even semi-auto, but the pump action, holy crap, it's just so good. This is the build I've been using recently with the JAK Slash, and again, oh my god, it's so good. You guys have to try this build. It's easily one of the best pump actions we've had in years, and having a movement speed focused build is so good. You feel so fluid. A lot of the attachments will kind of help with your spread, but also will help with things like your handling, so you don't have to worry about having a slow sprint to fire speed. You'll have great mobility. I even rock a suppressor on this build because why the hell not? I don't really need a choke. I'm getting consistent 2 shots anyway, So I'm just like, okay, I might as well rock a suppressor. The one I recommend for that, by the way, is the SAMX50 because it really doesn't hurt your range much at all. But I guess if you wanted to, you could swap this out for maybe a laser, or if you want a choke to have better spread, it's up to you. But really, I've been digging this suppressor and it feels fantastic. And I do want to point out these builds are tack stance focused because that's going to give you better mobility and visibility. And even though your spread isn't as tight, I feel like it's definitely worth the trade-off, especially on the Reclaimer. I mean, it's just so good. And like I said, you can use this on all the shotguns, so don't stop here. Go and find other shotguns to use this on. Unlock it, just try it out and see how you feel with other builds. Maybe Modern Warfare 2 shotguns that don't normally get any love. Try putting it on them and see how they feel. I promise you guys that it's definitely worth an unlock, and you really got to try it out. Don't really worry about the knife part of it. Just know that this thing really helps your movement and it feels so good. And guys, that is just going to do it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from it. And now, as always, in the comments below, I want to know, what do you guys think about this attachment? Do you think it's worth the unlock? Do you see yourself using it on things like the Reclaimer or maybe the Lockwood 680? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.